Hi, it's Nadia here, and today I'm going to teach you how to make this beautiful pearl and swirl bracelet. It's incredibly easy to make. It shouldn't take you long, but it looks very effective and you'll be very proud when you wear it. Let's have a look at the materials that we're going to be using. You need some pearls, and we've got a selection of pearls on our website. I will put all the details in the box below, so you can use any color mix that you like. You need some jump rings, a toggle and bar, and some wire. Your wire needs to be 0.6 millimeters, so you can use again any color that you want. And I will be using silver and the grey mixed beads with silver plated findings. And as for the tools, you will need your flush cutters, your round nose pliers, flat nose pliers, nylon jaw pliers, and a ruler. But I will put all the details of everything in the box below, and please have a look at our website to see the kits and for some inspiration. To start, I'm going to cut 80 centimeters of my 0.6 millimeter wire. And I'm just going to straighten it gently with my nylon jaw pliers before I start working with it. And remove any little kinks. It's just easier to use that way. Okay, I'm going to take my first bead and put it on the wire. And I'm going to find the center of my wire. So I'm just going to hold the two ends together and slide it to the middle. Now the first few twists are a bit fiddly, but it does get easier. So holding onto your bead very tight, you have to twist one of the wires around the bead. Twist it halfway round. Doesn't matter if you twist it to the front or the back, but I'm going to twist it halfway round. And then I'm going to hold my bead tightly again, and I'm going to twist the second wire in the same direction. So I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to pull it around the bead. Again, halfway round. So I'm just going to let go so I can show you how it looks to start off with. And now I'm going to take the first wire, and again I'm going to twist it halfway round, and the second wire I'm going to twist it halfway round. So the most important thing is to hold on to your bead in the middle quite tight. And after the first few swirls, your swirl, or the little vortex that we're making, gets easier to make. So just carry on in the same way. Halfway round, holding onto your bead quite tightly, and then halfway round again. So try and remember which is the wire that you used, so that you don't do the same one twice, one after the other, so that you're always alternating between the first and the second wire. And at this point, I'm just going to let go of it so I can show you. The swirl starts to form quite easily, and you can adjust it. If you want your swirl to be quite tight, make sure that your wraps are very tight. If you want it to be looser, just make your wraps a bit looser. And if you need any adjusting, if you feel you've had too many on the front and too few on the back, just move your wire to the back, but just carry on the whole way round until you use up, until we get to the end of the wire more or less. So you see the little vortex is now becoming a really nice feature around the bead. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of my wires, so I might give it just 1 or 2 little twists so that I've got enough left over to make the little loops at the end. So I'm just going to twist it one more time here, and the slightly longer one I'm going to twist it and carry it so that I end up with my wires on opposite sides. So they're more or less opposite each other, but I will show you how to make sure that they end up exactly opposite each other. Now I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to anchor this wire so it stays where I want it to be. So I'm actually going to make a little bend, a 90-degree bend, and push it down slightly. So I have one wire going upright, and I'm going to try and do the second wire more or less on the opposite side. So the same thing, flat nose pliers, going to give it a bend, a 90-degree bend, and straighten it up. You can always adjust it afterwards once you've made your little loops, but as long as you do your little bends at the back and put your loops on top of them, you won't see it at the front, but it will just be a good way to finish it so you can link all your beads together afterwards. So now I'm just going to trim my little wire. Actually, I'm going to give it a little straighten before I do it with my nylon jewel pliers, just to make sure that it's accurate. And I'm going to cut it so it's about 1 centimeter or just under a centimeter with my cutters. And I'm going to make a loop with my round nose pliers. So 1 loop. And I'm just going to bring it down, so I'm just bending it a bit. So I've got 1 loop on one side, and now I want to create the loop on the other side, so it's more or less opposite it, and I can see that it's not quite. So I'm just going to slightly change the position of my little bend. Okay, and now I'm going to cut this one. So it's about 1 centimeter. I'm now going to make the loop, the second loop on the other side. with my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to slightly squeeze it so it sort of goes behind my loop. And my bead is ready. So I've got my 2 loops which I'll be able to link together later, and the bead sits in the middle and it's completely secure. I know some people ask if they can fall out, but they're totally secure and they've got a beautiful swirl around them. And I'm going to show you again, just one more time, how to wrap the bead. There's 2 ways that you can do it. Either way works and they look very similar, but you might find one easier than the other. So let's have a look. I'm just going to cut myself a length of 80 centimeters again. I've cut another length of 80 centimeters of wire, and I've fed my 6mm bead on it to the middle, and I'm going to hold it in the middle. And the difference here is that I'm going to cross over my wires when I twist them. So I'm going to take one wire and bring it around almost halfway, like so. And now I'm going to take the second wire and bring it around halfway towards it. So they actually will cross at the top. Before, the previous way I did them so they followed each other, and this one I'm doing it so they cross each other. So again, I'm going to twist one wire around. I just follow it around the bead, and then the other wire I twist the other way. And this way I kind of try and keep one wire always twisting to the front and one wire twisting to the back. And it won't look very different. In fact, it looks very similar. However, I think when you do it this way, you can sometimes make your little swirl a bit tighter. So I've used it both ways on my bracelet because I quite like the slight variation. But really, it's whichever you find easiest to do. So I'm just going to carry on twisting one and then the other. So I'm halfway through, and I'm just going to show you how it looks. So as you can see, there's not a lot of difference, but this little swirl is just slightly tighter. And I'm going to carry on till the end, as I did before, to make sure that I've got the wire, enough wire left to do the 2 loops. And if when you're doing it, you feel that one of the wires has just become a bit too slack, you can just pull it and make it tighter. So you're really in control of how you want your little swirl to look in the end. So you can make it big and irregular, very organic, or you can make it smaller and tighter. It's really entirely up to you. So I'm almost at the end of my wire. I just want to show you how it's looking. It's really, really good fun to make these beads, so just enjoy it while you do it. Take your time. And I'm just going to twist it so that I end up with my wires being opposite each other now. So I'm going to stop this one about here, and the other one going the other way. Just going to take it around, and I'm going to stop it roughly opposite at the back. And now I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and make the same bend as I did before. So a 90-degree bend, just to anchor the wire, so when I make my little loops, it stays where I want it to be. So I'm going to do one first. I'm going to trim it to about 1 centimetre with my cutters. And I'm going to make my little loop. And now I'm going to take the other wire that I've got left and carry it around, so it's more or less on the other side. And I can always adjust this. You can always adjust this after you've done it, so don't worry if it's not perfect when you make the loops. So I'm going to anchor it here, so it's more or less directly opposite. Just going to take my flat nose pliers and get a better 90-degree bend on my wire before I trim it. Cut it. And make my loop. And now I'm just going to secure the one on the other side because I hadn't quite done it, just to make sure that they're opposite each other. So now I can bend it into place. And I want to say that you need your loops to be alongside, both sides, they need to be alongside the bead. So if your loop is twisted, like this one is, you just straighten it out with your pliers. So you just bring it round so that they're both facing the same direction, because if you want your bracelet to lie flat, I'm just going to hold it with my pliers so you can see more easily. The loops have to be on either side and not facing backwards. And that's really it. So we're just going to have to make a few more of these beads so that we can link them all up and make a bracelet. With my beads wrapped and ready, let's have a look at sizes and how we finish putting the bracelet together. A standard bracelet is 15 centimeters long plus your clasp and an extender. I'm going to be using a toggle and bar, so it has no extender. So you might want to make it slightly longer. I've got very tiny wrists, so 15 centimeters is quite big on me anyway. I'm just going to check and see roughly how many beads I need to get my 15 centimeters. So I am going to say that you could use 7 of your 6mm beads. It might be slightly bigger. You could use 7 or 6, up to you really. It depends on the size of your wrist. But I'll use 7 for this one, and I've made all 3 colours because I'd like it to be ombre. So I am going to put the darkest color in the middle, followed by my mid-tone, followed by my lighter tone, and I'm going to finish it off with the darkest color again. So a little pattern here, and I'm going to make sure that all my loops are all going the right way. So when I link it, it will lie flat. And as I link it, if any of the loops are slightly open, it's good to make sure that they're nice and tight so it doesn't fall apart when you're wearing it. And I'm going to join them all together with jump rings. It's up to you if you want to use small jump rings or slightly larger jump rings. It's the way you like it to look, but also some people really struggle with the really tiny jump rings. So by all means, go for slightly bigger ones. And all you need to do now is open your jump ring, so remember to open it forwards and backwards so that it maintains its shape, and slip one end, one loop of one of your beads and another one. And close it, making sure it's nice and tight. And again, the next one along. I've linked all my beads now with the little jump rings. I'm just going to look, it's slightly longer, it's 16 centimeters, but I think it's good. So the only thing I've got left to do now is join my toggle and bar to the ends, and I am going to join these with a slightly bigger jump ring because it just gives it more movement and it's more secure. The toggle and bar are the parts that you touch the most, and you don't want it to fall apart quite quickly. So if you use a larger and heavier gauge jump ring, it will just keep it more secure. The jump rings I'm going to be using for your reference to join my toggle and bar are 1/2 centimeter diameter. So I'm going to open it, slip the eyelet of the last bead on there and my bar, and I'm going to carefully close it so it's nice and tight. And another one of the eyelets, the 1/2 millimeter ones. I'm going to open it, always forwards or backwards, and slip the eyelet of the last bead on it and my toggle, and again close it carefully, and that's it. Beautiful ombre pearl bracelet, ready to wear, very quick to make, really effective. And lovely feature with a little toggle and bar at the top as well. So enjoy making it and leave us comments or ask questions. Be really happy to answer. and hope to see you on our next project.